Hello and greetings. Welcome to the second Roundtable Panel of the GatherVerse Money Summit. And I'm very grateful to the Fireside Chat with Russell and Christopher, and of course, the previous panel that was here on trust. And I believe this panel is going to take it a little bit notch higher. And we're going to talk about funding innovation in an AI economy. I believe in this panel, we're going to unpack where the capital is going. Where is the world investing currently? And before we even deep dive, I would want to welcome our dear panelists. I want them to introduce themselves, tell us who you are, and let's do it quite briefly. I will start with you, Tina, and then we will pass it all over and conclude the introductions with you, Dr. Venu. But as for now, Tina, we want to hear your voice.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me. I'm Tina Fleming. I'm the VP of AI Strategy at Avenue Z.
Wow, that was brief. We welcome you. And Camila Sanders, nice to see you again. Tell us who you are and what you do.
Yes, Camila Sanders, CEO of Greater Than Equal, and I help social impact leaders drive systemic change through strategy consulting.
You're welcome back. We love seeing you here. Dr. Satish, this is not your first time, but we welcome you anyway. Thank you for coming back again. Tell us who you are.
So myself, I am Dr. Satish, and I'm currently working as a business testing lead for Cigna Healthcare client. And in parallel, I'm doing research on AI, machine learning, and then related to healthcare. So I have several patents, and currently I'm working on improving my profile.
Wow, we welcome you once again. Dr. Venu, over to you. Your mic, please. Kindly unmute. Kindly unmute. All right, as he figures that out, let's go to you. Keejans, this is not your first time as well. Happy to see you again. Tell us who you are.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me. My name is Key. I am the founder and the CEO of Reset, which is an organization that helps women and men overcome and defeat trauma.
Interesting. And thank you for coming. Dr. Venu, over to you again.
Yeah, good day, all the panel members and you also. I am driving that, AI governance and literacy program across the globe. Yeah, thank you.
All right. Thank you for coming once again. We love seeing you. And, I'll just begin this roundtable with a few interesting facts that I recently came out with. It's the year 2025, and over half of the global venture funding has gone to AI platforms and infrastructure. Half of the ventures, we're talking about over $192 billion. And there's also an interesting figure here that most of the startups that are doing anything to do with AI have gained the unicorn status. That looks like a good news. And there's so much that has happened 2025, and we're looking forward to more of these coming next year. But let's just discuss, where is this money going to, and what does it mean to be a founder in this era of AI? And I'll go to my first question, and I will address you, Tina. I'll bring you on this. Which human skill is becoming the most and the new capital for foundation in an AI-driven world? Over to you, Tina.
Thank you. What we have really found through our own investments in our AI innovation is that for this way of moving forward, strategic judgment really is that key thing, that thing that is going to set you apart from this AI world that we're living in now. The AI can give you options, but it's not going to give you that conviction. And I think that is that magic ingredient that humans still bring and will continue to bring. So if you have that creativity, strategic thinking, that's going to be where you need to root yourself as a founder.
Creative, strategic thinking. Camila, I see you agreeing to this. Do you have a different take on that, or what do you have to add on that?
Yeah, I completely agree. It really is the creativity for me, and that's one word to sum it up. But it's about that passion. Like if you think about technology, AI is creating from the past. It can't necessarily come up with what humans can come up with. That passion to solve the problem, the passion, the values that you bring, how you were raised, the world around you, like everything that shaped you, you bring soul, you bring that passion to the project. And so that is
Mhm.
something that cannot be replaced, because AI is not going to bring that soul and that passion toward really getting to the root of the problem that you're solving and really making that impact that you want to. And that's really something that's going to sustain you. That creativity and that passion is going to sustain you through the process of seeing it through and seeing the impact that you bring.
Yes, absolutely. I do agree on that. And I have a follow up to what it means to be creative in this era of AI. If AI can create everything that we can imagine, if AI can even be more creative and bring the past, combine it with the present, and bring in the future when it comes to creativity, what are we really talking here about creativity? Is there a new level of creativity that humans have to unveil, or what do we see when it comes to creativity? Anyone can answer that or share your thoughts.
Yeah, I'll just I'll just add, like, I don't think that AI can be as creative as humans
Mm-hmm.
can,
Mm-hmm.
because we're so complex, and we bring this new creativity and innovation to things. AI is
Yes.
just taking the data that it has from the past, from various
Mm-hmm.
creatives, and like I mentioned, like, it doesn't really have a soul. Like you can't see that when you're communicating that creativity. So we may be, as creatives, may be very passionate about a particular thing, and that emotion shows in our work and everything that we
Yes.
do. That is something intangible that we can't even describe, but that's not something that AI has. And so I think that we are just more creative than AI could ever be.
I'd like to add
That's
to that as well.
yeah.
Just on the note of what AI has access to is what it synthesizes and gives back to you. So when you think of a human and that unique worldview and life experiences and all of that is going to be very specific to them, and that's how they interpret things and input and output. Whereas AI is just a giant pot of a bunch of different ideas that have been in the past, as you said. So, agreed.
Yes, that is a very strong build up through that. And thank you so much for sharing that, Tina, as well as Camila. This drags me to our next question, and I'm coming to you, Dr. Satish and Key as well. What is the concept of responsible scaling in an AI-driven era? As I mentioned, we have so many AI startups gaining the unicorn status. We've seen companies like OpenAI being funded over $40 billion with such amount of money. What does responsible scaling in an AI-driven world really mean? Dr. Satish, share your thoughts.
Yeah, sure. So one thing I can say, like in AI, right, we do have different kind of models all over ChatGPT or whatever the things that we have API models, different models. So one thing we need to make sure, whatever the model that we are doing, right, we need to make sure the accuracy is very important, and we need to build in such a way that whatever the data governance, right, should be done, like because
Mhm.
huge volume of data and deployment has been doing nowadays, right. We need to make sure we should align whatever the clients that are being using AI, right, the data governance
Yes.
should be there. And we need to make sure we should implement some kind of ethical reviews at every stage. Like we need to create certain amount of stages where for each stage we need to evaluate the performance, accuracy and precision as well. And also we need to monitor uh, the bias or misuse, because we need to know like who are misusing and who are biased as well. That way we can have
Mhm.
accuracy as well. And we need to make sure we should have some kind of transparent communication as well between the end user and the partners who are implementing as well. With this kind of thing, we need to balance the market speed as well, because day by day we can see the market is growing up very rapidly. We need to
Yes.
make sure whatever the things that we are doing, right, it should be there for long term, not very short term, whatever the things we are doing.
Mm. I totally agree, and thank you for building up on the fact about transparency. And I believe the previous panel covered that quite well, and you sharing that only makes more sense. Key Jones, do you have something to add to this, as well as Dr. Venue? But I want to come to you, Key.
Oh yeah, sure. In my opinion, responsible scaling means growing at the speed of wisdom, not hype. Not trying to keep up with what the next founder is doing. You worry about what's going on in your business. Be smart about the decisions that you're making in your business. And it's also about being intentional about the data ethics, of course, and transparency, like he just said. Also the cultural impact, and let's not leave out the mental well-being as you expand. So it means designing a technology that won't harm other communities. Of course, it won't overwhelm your users, nor will it exploit the workers either. So scaling responsibly is going to ensure that your innovation grows without compromising trust, equity, or humanity. We never want that to happen.
Yes, you know, Kiki, just hold on that thought. There's something you said. Scaling is growing at the speed of wisdom. What is wisdom to you? I'm just curious. I want to find out. What
Wisdom
is
is being smart and making decisions within your business. You know, you don't want to make the wrong moves, and you definitely don't want to, again, as I said earlier, worry about what the next founder is doing in their business. So don't try
Yes.
to keep up with the hype.
All right. Don't try to keep up with the hype. Thank you so much
Yes.
for sharing that. I really loved what you said. Dr. Vanu, what is responsible scaling to you? Kindly unmute. All right. As we figure that out, maybe we can drag it to the next panel.
Yeah, infrastructure should be there. And next comes the skill development. Because a implementation, the technology with the tools has been developed. Now we have to go on the execution mode to give the benefit for the organizations. The organization, what they have been invested, the companies looking in the business is that return on investment. So for that, the manpower development, skill development is important. Next
Yes.
comes the data models development. Because data model development, it differs from the domain to domain. So that is the way the responsible scaling is required. Another is that regulations, AI regulations is important to scaling. And the last factor comes that sector specification models need to be developed, like healthcare, manufacturing, retail. So that is the way it comes. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Excellent. Well highlighted. And we're gonna come to regulation. I believe that's a topic that carries its own weight. But let me just go to the next questions, and I'm coming to you, Tina, as well. How do we invest in ideas that benefit people while remaining profitable?
So I think this one is actually an easy thing to do. I think that if you are investing in your people are going to be taking care of your clients stay happy, they stay on. And for us, the way that we've been doing this is we are really trying to enable our employees to innovate within their expertise. So when we talk about agentic workflows and how do we change the way that we work, we're getting those ideas from the team, and they're going to be the most experts in that particular field. So they're going to ensure that the quality is there, and it's going to let us take those next steps to make it more profitable without sacrificing in the people and also that quality.
Yes, that's a very good highlight. And I have a follow-up to that. When we're talking about investing in people, and the current data that I shared earlier is that a majority of the funding, actually, when it comes to AI, is going to infrastructure. It's going to build foundational models. It's going to build the next data center, right? So how do we just bring that balance to invest more in people? Tina, you're doing that in your company. How can other leaders learn as well? And what message do you have for the world that is looking forward to invest more in the infrastructure than the people?
if you're looking to invest more in the infrastructure rather than the people, you're going to have an adoption problem and you're going to have a deployment problem. So
Yes.
for us, literacy comes first always. You need to educate everyone. And if you are spending all of that in the infrastructure, you want it to be successful and not have your AI project fail, you do need that literacy and rollout plan.
Thank you for sharing that. I'm curious, does anyone has something to add on that? He or Camila or Dr. Benny, does anyone has to add something on that?
Sure, I can add to it, and it's really almost reiterating when you are talking about benefiting people. I mean, profit is really about supply and demand, right? I mean, that's kind of the bottom line to it. But I think what Tina's talking about is co-developing the solutions with the people. So not just developing a solution, but developing it with the people that have the problem. And if you have a large enough problem and you're developing it with the people that actually have the problem, then that is going to meet that adoption that Tina just mentioned, right? They're going to want to adopt the solution that they helped to develop, and they're going to want to use the solution that they have helped to develop. So when you do that, you are going to bring in profits naturally because the supply and the demand is going to be there. So you can't have profit when you put people first.
Yes, strong. I concur with that. And that really leads me to the next question, and I'm coming to you, Dr. Satish, as well as Dr. Venu. How can we assess readiness when industries are evolving more rapidly than the due diligence process? I think that this is where the place of regulation comes in. But Satish, please tell us your thoughts on that.
Yeah, sure. Like due to this more kind of revolution nowadays, right? What we need to do, as per my understanding, is we need to create some kind of short pilots to validate instead of long studies. So what we can do is we can do some kind of short pilots where we can validate based on assumptions whatever we have as per the project, right? We need to create short pilots instead of long ways. That way we will save much more money. Using the short pilot, we'll get to know how the market trend is, how our project is, and then we can go from there. And also whatever the team we are forming, right, the team should be more adaptable and they should have more velocity as well compared to the people in the market. And other than that, we need to join different kinds of export networks as well, like GatherVerse, where we'll have more knowledge and we can see what has been evolving outside market, because we don't know what is happening nowadays outside, right? So we need to join specific set of networks and gathering events as well. That way we will get to know, like, whatever the project we are doing, right, if there is any certain gap or there, or sometimes there might be some knowledge gap as well, where if we attend these kind of events, right, we will get to know quickly so that we will learn accordingly. And we should judge the founder as well. Because of this fast changes, right, we need to judge the founder and act accordingly faster.
Important, very important. And just to echo what he said, that is why we have gatherings like this ones, to have leaders like Tina, Camila, Dr. Satish, Ki, Dr. Venu, and everyone who joins in as a speaker to share knowledge and also to make just knowledge accessible. So I really echo with what you said. Dr. Venu, this is where regulation comes in. Do you have another aspect to this? Please share. Kindly unmute.
Addition to Dr. Satish, because he has been narrated in the process of execution. But when we want industries, evolution starts from the funding, because the funding is required. It is the funding is
Yes.
two types. One is the mixed, one is the public and private funding. And also that government has to take the initiative, grants and subsidies, and the national mission fundings are there, because this is the government has to be utilize the technology in the governance. And in this sector, to develop infra, skill development, and data models and regulations, and sector specific research oriented applications. There are a big 10 investors are there across the globe because the funding is comes. One is the Index Venture. They have been invested $1.5 billion for the A infrastructure. Next is that Greylock Partners. They have been invested almost $800 million for the infrastructure. Because without infrastructure, the process cannot be implemented in the industry adoption, and we cannot take the benefit of the technology. And Microsoft, they invested $14 billion. Google invested $2 billion, and SoftBank invested $40 billion.
Yes.
Another players are there, Tigger Global. They invested $4 billion, and Lightspeed, they invested $4 billion. Anderson, $4 billion. So this is the huge capital is required when we are moving from digital to artificial intelligence here, because a lot of data servers and data centers and hardware need to be in place. So this leads to be automation. Thank you.
All right, and thank you for sharing those statistics. Very, very important. Let's just let's shift our focus right now. And I'm coming to you, Key Jones. What funding gaps appear when markets rely heavily on automation?
This is a good one. So, audience, if you're listening, this is a good one. And I think those gaps appear in three main places. And
Please.
one would be the human development spot. That would be your soft skills, your mental health, and workforce transition tools. Another area that shows up in, of course, is in ethical oversight. And that would be your AI safety, governance, and your bias mitigation remain unfunded. And last but not least, also shows up in your inclusive innovation, where founders from underserved communities, they lose the visibility because of the algorithms. They reward those that are already advantaged. So automation without equity, that widens the gap. So we must intentionally fund the human side of tech at all times.
Yes, and just a follow up to that with something interesting that I also found out is majority of the funding and the infrastructure majorly comes from China and the USA. So I'm wondering where the rest of the continents, where is Asia?
Right.
Sorry, not Asia. Where is South America? Where is Africa? Where is Middle East? So how do we even look at that from a global lens and bridge that kind of infrastructure gap or funding gap?
I would say the same. It again, it shows up in all those same places in the human development, the ethical oversight, and of course the inclusive innovation.
Yes. All right. Does anyone want to chime in on that? Camille, do you have a follow up to that, or do you have something to say on that?
I can add that I think when you're talking about the funding gaps and automation, we have to think about some of the intangible aspects. Some things that we're mentioning, like building trust and that human relationship that happens. That automation is not necessarily a bad thing, but you have to think about the trust that happens when you're actually having that human to human interaction, and when you're building things with humans. Sometimes we have to take a step back and we have to do things that are not so quick and not so easy, to make sure that we keep humans in the center of it.
Of course, humanity will always be the center of this. And this is just a reminder to everyone who is building, please keep humanity at the center of what you are doing. And this leads me to the next question. And I want to hear from each and every one of you. And I will start with you, Tina, as well. Who protects founders when AI tools create even uneven power dynamic with investors? Right. We're seeing now investors are directly investing on AI and not with the founders who are creating it. So what protects founders in this kind of scenario?
What
Tina.
protects founders in this kind of scenario, I think, really comes down to the preparation that you put yourself through in order to establish your mission, your values, what goals you have, and just creating that clarity for yourself. Because when you have those really clear terms, you know where you stand, you know what lines you won't cross. I think that's the best protection that you can do for yourself. It helps make you just harder to push off course when you do get all of those pressures to innovate, pressures for speed. And I think that that is really what protects founders in these kind of circumstances.
Amazing. That's a very, very interesting perspective there. And Camila, what is your take on that? What protects founders in this era?
Yeah, I think that, what would be great in a almost perfect world would be that transparency with investors. Like, what are they investing in? How are they investing? How are they selecting? How much money? Like, all those information that would be helpful for a founder. But I agree that it is about that ecosystem that you have around you as a founder. How are you educating yourself? What tools are you using? Who are you surrounding yourself with, whether that's through an accelerator program or through your own community, so that you can learn and you can do even more when you are a founder and seeking an investor.
That's right. That is strongly expressed. When I think about communities, I think it's dangerous for any founder to be alone at this particular point. You have to have a community around you, a community like GatherVerse, or so many other founders community where you can really start building relationships with investors and just put your product out there. Dr. Satish, what is your take on this? What protects founders for you?
So who protects? I can say, like, we can create some kind of educational programs as well, where we can teach founders as well, uh, to make sure whatever the negotiations that needs to be done on their AI powered things, right? It will be done accordingly, and then we need to create some kind of standard reports as well, where we can see like how AI can be used in some the investment decisions as well, because it's hard for us to keep on investing money and money again and again.
Mm.
So we need to have some kind of strategically some kind of reports to validate on a monthly basis or a weekly basis based on their availability, to see how they can invest accordingly. And then the other thing I can say, whatever the term sheets, right, that is very important, because currently based on the time sheets all the stocks currently, right, they're rising up or declining, right? So we need to make sure the term sheet should be positive rather than going to negative.
Very solid, interesting
Mm-hmm.
views. And Kay, let me just drag that right to you as you agree so much with him. Please chime in on that.
Yes. I think as founders, we just need transparent AI evaluation standards. We need the legal safeguards around our data ownership, community-driven oversight boards, ethical investment frameworks, first of all, because investors with unchecked AI, they can overpower the early stages of founders. So we need those systems that ensure that tech doesn't become just another tool of exploitation, but that bridge toward collective prosperity.
Definitely. I love the term collective prosperity for all. Dr. Venu, how do you protect founders? Tell us from your life.
Because already there have been almost 170 AI tools are available, but
Interesting.
there is no proper integration with the business applications. See, for example, if you take Microsoft, there is a Word document is there, Excel is there, and PPT is there. But we have 170 tools. But if you go to the market or industry, the top management or manpower don't know that which tool is going to replace Word document, which tool is going to replace that Excel sheet, which tool
Yes.
is going to supplement the PowerPoint. See, still there is a lot of skill upgradation is required in the industry until unless we don't adopt and utilize, and the revenue generation is not started, the technology is no more useful for the business segment, because business leaders want the revenue with the technology. If technology is very high and effective, there is no revenue is there, ROI, return on investment. For them, is technology is no more useful.
All right, thank you for highlighting that and closing us with such a remarkable, strong foundation to what we can do on that. You know, this brings me also to just the next question, and I'm coming to you, Tina, and anyone who wants to chime in on this. What do you think are the most promising yet underfunded areas of innovation in AI? What's your take, Tina? What's the most underfunded, you say?
So my take on this comes more from an AI strategy enablement within our own company. But what I see as the most promising but underfunded or under prioritized is that connective tissue. Everyone focuses on the infrastructure, like we've previously said, but no one's really thinking about the change management that goes into rolling something like that out. And that's really the key thing that's going to make it successful. I think that you really need to invest in those areas when you're talking about your workforce enablement, the data quality and governance, the workflow design. All of those pieces are not successful on their own. You really need to bind all of those together for a successful deployment. So I would say, as far as the prioritization of areas that are going to be the most successful, that's where you should focus.
I hear you, Tina. That is strongly expressed.
Mhm.
Camilo, what do you think is the most underfunded areas?
I think it's social impact and social innovators. And the reason why they're underfunded is because they're not necessarily going to become unicorns, right? They may become unicorns for impact, but not
Yeah.
necessarily for profit in the definition that we have of unicorns, even though they can be profitable. And so if you're funding systems change, it also takes a longer time, a longer runway than some of these automated solutions. But
Yes.
what's missing is really funding that impact and funding social innovators that are making systemic impact, but don't fit into the typical paradigm of what's typically funded.
Social impact. You know, I have a follow up on that. I'm just curious. You know, when you talked about social impact and versus automation, do you think it's the responsibility for companies to carry on social impact? Is it the government's responsibility? Is it everyone's responsibility? Who is responsible for social impact if companies are focusing on profits?
Yeah, I think what we're seeing now is it is multi-stakeholder. It's not just one innovator. It's innovators working with governments, working with private sector, working with nonprofits, working with the community. It's all of us working together to achieve a common goal. It's not just on the backs of one particular group of people. So I think we all take responsibility. And honestly, like the people that are listening, it's our responsibility. It's the responsibility of the people on the panel. It's our responsibility to kind of break down those barriers and start to work across sectors and across categories, just so that we can achieve that impact together, whether that's innovative funding or that's just sharing innovative ideals that will help nonprofits be profitable, those type of things, and working together. I think it's everyone's responsibility.
Yes, and that's a very powerful call to action. So if you're watching, wherever you're watching us from, this is a collective responsibility. Social impact is for me and you. Do something, share what you've learned here today, and that's part of social impact. Dr. Satish, over to you. What do you think is the most underfunded area in innovation?
So I am thinking like AI for agriculture. So it is one of the most underfunded areas. Nowadays, more people are more inclined towards technology and other areas, right? But
Yes.
in agriculture nowadays, I don't think it is one of the underfunded areas because we cannot live without food, but we can live with technology, right?
Yes.
So I'm thinking agriculture is one of the most underrated and doesn't have much innovations.
And you know the most interesting part that you talked about agriculture. Just a reminder, we're having a food summit, and these are the things we're going to address. Dr. Satish, I hope you'll be there for the food summit. We're going to be talking about food and technology. We cannot live without food, but we cannot live without food, but we can definitely live without technology. But that's food. We will drag that thread over to the food summit just on that day. And Key Jones, what is your take on this?
I think some of the most underserved areas would be like youth AI education pipelines, especially in the Black and Brown communities. I would also say AI mental wellness and trauma-informed technologies.
Yes.
Also AI for accessibility and neurodivergent learners. And they don't always get the fastest return on investment. So that's why they're always overlooked. Yet they have a foundation for a thriving equitable AI future, in my opinion.
Yes, I believe that is it's something that needs to really be worked on, right? That's something that we cannot ignore, but it's something that we keep advocating. And also, these communities also have to take also responsibility.
Right.
See, what can we do by ourselves? What can we build? I want to give an example of here in Africa. There are solutions that are unique to us that we can build with AI. Do we have to wait for someone in China or someone in maybe in Europe or in America to bring us the solution? No, it's up to us to identify this is our problem. This is AI. This is what we have, and this is what we can work on. So it's also a call to action for everyone. And thank you for highlighting that. Dr. Venu, what do you have to say on this? What is the most underfunded area? Kindly unmute. Kindly unmute. We can't hear you.
We cannot hear you, Dr. Venu.
All right. As he comes back, he's gonna chime in as well. I want us to go to the next question. What investment strategies are the most effective for funding AI startups and projects? Tina, over again to you. I think you're my first today, so tell us.
I'm the first. I'll actually pass on this one if someone else wants to take this.
Yes. Dr. Satish, I see you nodding to this. I feel like you want to take this up and someone who else who
Yeah, I
can
can
chime
take
in.
this up.
Yes.
So you're asking what are the investment strategies, right? That are most efficiently for the AI startups, right? So I can say so we need to invest very early in a certain set of data sets, because so some of the data sets, right, we won't know, like we cannot predict, right? So some things which we don't know.
Yes.
So whatever not in market, right, we need to make sure we should invest early, and then we need to prioritize whatever the infrastructure or uh, any daily products are there, right? So any daily products nowadays, mostly people are using specifically on the UI only products, but rather than those, we need to prioritize certain infrastructure things as well, where the projects are used on the daily basis as well. And we, if there are any expertise team is there, right, we need to make sure we should back those teams up, because recently we saw, right, the Meta acquired so many AI folks, and with huge amount of money, right? So we need to make sure what are the teams that we are working, right? So
Yes.
we should engage them in everything. We should use their expertise on our thing as well, because some people in market, what they think like they will know and they won't talk to others. That's how most of the people are. But we need to make sure we need to work with everyone accordingly, and whatever the distribution that is happening for every project, right, we need to strategize accordingly. And whatever the product we are building, it should diversify compared to other products in market.
All right. Okay. That was a very strong point. Dr. Venu, you're back. I'm sure your audio is now quite good, and we were at the most underfunded areas. And we wanted to hear your voice on that. What did you have to share?
In a startups, they need to do underfunded
we,
areas of the innovation.
yes.
Yeah, underfunded innovation is that mostly manufacturing is lacking, because the digital twins, the concept is coming. That is where they need to be focus areas in the innovation area. Most of the now segment is more focused on healthcare. That is the highest priority, but manufacturing is taken the second seat. So manufacturing needs to be improved in the innovation sector.
All right, manufacturing. When we're talking about manufacturing, is it solely based on chips? Because that's the trending. That's one of the most funded areas right now, the manufacturing of chips. And so, what type of manufacturing are we looking at here?
Manufacturing in the sense, for example, if you take food and beverage, because food and beverage industry is still not yet automated. It is a completely 90% is manual intervention is there. The
Yes.
quality testing and processing and the shelf life and logistics. A lot of areas needs to be, warehouse management. These are the
Right.
areas needs to be improved.
Yes, I absolutely concur with that. And just to go to the next question, we wanted to hear your voice on the underfunded areas, and we were at what investment strategies are the most effective for finding AI startups and projects. Camila, do you have something to chime in on this topic?
Yeah, I was thinking about what you said about innovation coming from all parts of the globe, and also what Dr. Satish said about investing early. And I think that one of the things that we don't see is we have a lot of people with great ideas, but they are not able to get those ideas off the ground because they don't have the resources. And I'm not just talking about funding, I'm talking about that ecosystem that is around them, whether that is the connections or that is the programs that help to drive entrepreneurship and startups. And so one of the strategies that needs to be had is to make sure that we're having a diverse set of people building or organizations building AI solutions and putting the resources in the places that are having the issues. I think, Tina, maybe you're the one that said this too. It's like, actually, are there people that are the people that are providing the solutions, do they have the resources to actually be a startup and to grow? And one of the things that I'm also hearing with startups is that a lot of times they get this influx of capital, but then they grow, but nobody talks about that once you grow, you have a new set of issues, right? And so who is
Yes.
there to hold their hand when, okay, you got this money, you grew, you're past the stage, but then we start to see people fail or don't get to the next stage that they need to get to because they don't have the next set of connections. They don't have the education, leadership, the things that are required at that next growth stage, whatever that next growth stage is. So it's really is about putting the resources around and developing that ecosystem around a diverse set of people and thinking all the way through the process of growth of a startup.
Definitely. I'm also thinking, just as we're still on this topic, when it comes to effective strategies, Camila, you said something to do with communities coming together. I'm also curious, how do we bring to visibility these startup projects, right? Apart from hackathons, we know maybe pitch sessions where founders pitch. What other ways do we bring startups and projects to the larger scope, especially those in underserved communities? How do we bring them to the limelight? And Key Jones, this is where I bring you in. You can tell us what are the most effective strategies, and perhaps you can answer that. Yes, Key, please unmute. You're muted. Can you mute?
Okay, I'm sorry. It's like I couldn't get to the mute button. Can you repeat your question for me, please?
What investment strategies are most effective for funding AI startup projects, and how can we bring this project into visibility to the global light, to the global stage? Right?
Well, I did hear what you said about hackathons, and that was the first thing I was going to say. So you just kind
Oh,
of took that you took that thought clean out of my head.
yes.
But that's one way, and I would say like collaborative investment ecosystems such as schools, nonprofits, and corporations could be one way. And just smart investors, they can fund both innovation and integrity. And microfunds targeting marginalized founders. That's a way as well. So that's the
Yes.
only thing I could think of off the top of my head at the moment.
Yes, and that is valid. I totally believe that's one of the ways forward. And this brings me to the next question, and I'm gonna bring each and every one of you. I know not most of us are not policymakers, but you can just tell us what you just think. All right? How can policymakers create a responsible environment that encourages investment in AI? Again, Tina, to you. Over to you.
You. So for us, what's really important is that you can't govern what you don't understand. So with all of these new changes, this is a new technology. If someone was acting like an expert in it early on, then that trust isn't really there. I think it's one of those things you have to bring the team with you, and making sure that you do have that literacy layer. But one of the biggest issues with policy, no matter if we're talking about AI or elsewhere, is that a lot of the time the policymakers are not the ones who are affected by the policy, or they don't understand fully the implications of what things mean that go into that policy. So I think starting there, the ambiguity of it all will actually slow the innovation.
Yes, Tina, just a follow up. Do you think we should have people who educate policymakers? Should we have like a group of or a set of people who just educate policymakers on this thing?
Yeah, lobbyists. I think that's a huge,
Uh-huh.
that's community groups coming together to speak up about how it's affecting them. I think that there's a lot that can be done. And I myself have been one of those people who do go speak to the people who make policy in my area. So, yeah, absolutely.
Well, thank you. It's actually lovely to have you sharing that from your angle of a policymaker. Camila, what is your take on this? What should we do with like policymakers?
Yeah, I love the idea of having a community advisory group. So the policymakers are actually listening to the community, a diverse set of community stakeholders. I think that's great as far as like policy goes. Making sure that the entire system is transparent, right, and communicative in the process. And then also, I think that there should be some type of requirement for inclusive practices, whether that is inclusive data sets, whether that's inclusivity in who's building the AI or whatever that project is. There needs to be that, and then there also needs to be a focus on social impact. How are you giving back? You're not just creating something to create it, but how is this impacting the community and everyday citizens as a whole? And that's where that community advisory groups come in, is to not only educate the community, but also so that they can give feedback. And so it's a feedback loop and not just a one-way situation that's happening when we're talking about creation and AI.
Interesting. Thank you for sharing that excellent remarks there. Dr. Satish, how can policymakers create a responsible environment that creates investments, encourages investments in AI?
So we need to make certain standards for every investment, for every model. Like the standards, I can say, like whatever the auditing, right? So we need to make sure the audit should happen to see what is happening, what's going on, what are the impacts that are coming up, and we need to create some kind of reporting as well to see, like if you are in profits or losses, or are we equal on the investments or those kind of things. And we need to see like if any kind of tax incentives as well will come
Mhm.
for the research and development as well. and whatever the regularities are there, right, we need to streamline for the deployments, like whatever the AI deployments that are going up, right? So different projects are going up. So we need to make sure we should align as per the regulatory, because if something mess ups during the AI deployment during the production, eventually the entire company will fail.
That's right. I
So
hear you.
yeah, so need to make sure as per the standards, or if any healthcare is there, we need to as per the HIPAA gateway or whatever the standards are there, right? So we need to do it accordingly, and then we can create some kind of private and public partnerships as well for high risk projects. If there is a high risk project, then we need to make some kind of partnership with like-minded people. That way it will be a high risk, and it will be a low risk for everyone.
Yes, absolutely. I agree with that, and I hear you as well, Dr. Benyu. Quickly, as our time is almost to an end, please share what can policymakers do.
Because venture capitalists needs to be encouraged in the AI governance and risk factors and the security. These three parameters will encourage investors.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, that was so brief. Thank you for sharing that. Hey, Jones, what is your take? What is your
Absolutely.
experience? Yeah.
Absolutely. I think that policymakers should build guardrails, not roadblocks. Always try to establish clear AI safety and governance frameworks, and fund AI education pipelines, most definitely. They should also try providing grants for ethical AI startups. That would be great. Protect user privacy and community safety, because we all know when policy leads with clarity and compassion, innovation will thrive.
All right. That's a very powerful way to conclude, but I just have one more question to take away just before our time ends. What would you say to any founder who is watching and is building something on AI or building something just impacts the community? Just one person who wants to say something to founders out here. Just one person. Who would that be? All right, Tina, I see you leaning in. Come on, tell us.
I would say to a founder who is in this world that we're all in, don't get hooked on one single model. Make sure whatever you're building is model agnostic, that it's flexible, and that, like I said earlier, you have that connective tissue so that you make sure that it's successful.
Excellent. Amelia, an opportunity for you. What do you have to say?
What's that mean?
Yes, you,
Okay.
Camila.
I would just say, we get stuck in this founder investor frame. I would say for everyone listening, like, don't be afraid to build your own solutions, right? You don't have to be just a consumer. You can be a creator. If you have a problem with which all of us do, you can be that founder that helps to build your solution, right? And then I will also say to everyone else that's listening too, is that we have to think innovatively, because the world that we live in, we're creating that, right? And we don't know what that future is going to look like. And so what got us there, what got us in the situation, is not necessarily going to get us out. We have to think innovatively. We have to think of new systems of funding. We have to think of new ecosystems to build around people that may not have the resources. So I would just encourage people to be innovative and
Yes.
creative and focus on building your own solutions.
Yes, I
Thank you
agree.
so much. And as fast as it comes, as fast as it goes. And thank you so much for joining us, our dear panelists. We look forward to having you back. The conversation has ended, but the summits are still more, and there are yet more to come. So we look forward to having you once again. And our audience, thank you for engaging. And for us, it was a gather. I'll gather as well. Over to you, GatherVerse team. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.